Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Red Pill Nation Hangout number 469. Uh, sorry for the late start. Internet was being really twitchy. V may be joining us later on. Hold on a second here. I'm actually going to send him a message right now. Just give me a moment here. Yeah, I'm just sending a couple of messages out here. Yeah, I would have started right at 3, but unfortunately, the internet has been kind of twitchy where I live for the last little bit. But I am the rookie. V and possibly Roger and maybe Steve might be joining us. But if they don't, I am fully prepared to do a episode basically by myself. Before I do though, I actually loaded up some rather interesting stuff here. And I think I'm going to start out with a bit of a funny one here, but yeah, I'm just gonna start this one up before we actually get going. So yeah, this is one I loaded. This one I found on Instagram. Just enjoy the laughs for about 25 seconds here.
Hey Mike, I know you think your truck is totally sick, but this is what I think of your precious 4x4 hang out all day with your stupid friend's truck. Push it!
Yeah, I just had to throw that one in there. Because. So anyway, I am the rookie 5. Oh wait, looks like Dragus is in. Dragus, hello there. Dragus, are you there? Oh, no, V has jumped in as well. Okay, so we've got a couple people on board. You guys can unmute yourselves and introduce yourselves. Dragus, V, which one of you can unmute right away? Hello? Hello?
Oh, okay. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Dragus, introduce yourself. I don't think I have a avatar for you. Do I have an avatar for you? I don't.
Let me just enable the camera again, and that should have it. There we go. Can you see me now? Yeah.
Yeah, I can see you now, but basically, no, I don't have an avatar for you. What I usually do is when people introduce themselves at the start of the show, I usually have an avatar in my picture feed that I can do while I'm doing it, but I don't have one for you.
Yeah, at another time. Or hold on here. Like, do you want one that's motioned, or do you want one that's
just a straight up static picture. I'll add it in at some point. Just toss it into toss it into the
here. Yeah.
Just toss it into the Teams feed, and I'll get around to it at some point today. V, are you there? So while you're here, Dragus, introduce yourself.
I am Mark from Dragus Productions. I'm the guy that gets all the shows going, and we are starting back up tonight.
Cool. I'll have to see what I can do about
in a couple hours. I figure I'd jump in here with you for a little bit in between, because I seen that you didn't have anybody, and I'm like, okay, well, I come in for a little bit. So yeah.
Well, I was dealing with. I would have started about half an hour earlier, but I was having like massive technical issues for whatever reason, in particular with Teams. Yeah,
and I don't have a problem with Teams most of the time anymore. I just learned how to take and work it.
Yeah. No, I do not know why they just didn't like revamp Skype as opposed to starting up with Teams. V, are you?
Then they would have to take and allow phone numbers and things like that.
And internationally too. It was the cheap shortcut for international calls, and they don't want that.
No, of course they don't. So, V, introduce yourself.
Well, I'm the host of the Red Pill Hardcore Radio Show, which is still on hiatus. I'm a panelist on this show. I'm a panelist on a few other shows. I'm special project director and part owner of TLB Talks social network. That's right, TLBTalks.com. I apologize for those whom may have been having issues with TLB Talk because right now I'm basically doing a takeover. Not as far as ownership, but takeover as far as the running of TLB Talk, because right now there's almost nobody at the helm. So my business partner had some health issues and is slowly getting through those, but we're not going to let TLB Talk fall. No, we're not. Well, with me at the helm, it's probably it's going to boom. It's going to burst. I don't care who gets on it. Conservatives or liberals, I don't care. But it's going to boom. And so, just for everybody to know. And where the hell is Roger?
No, well, Roger hasn't. Rearson is working today, and Roger is available. Roger's around, but he's not responding. Roger's got a life just like you and I do. So it's like if Roger's not available, he's not available. Life goes on. So anyway, I do thank you, Mark, for sending along that avatar. It will be up in a couple of minutes here. So the topics for today are as follows. Let me just go back here. I can say, Teams has been turning into the act of absolute fucking, pardon the language, absolute frustration when it comes to dealing with Teams. It's like it's just twitchy as hell to start out with. And it automatically, the old Skype would not just like log you out randomly. Like that was what I really liked about Skype, was that it would not randomly just log you out, but Teams will just log you out randomly. And it's like super slow at booting up. It's just like all sorts of like seriously major problems. But anyway, I might be doing another show this evening. I do have for those of you who don't know, I am at in terms of numbers here. Rumble, BitChute, Odyssey, MGTOW TV, Brighteon, and YouTube. By the way, my YouTube numbers I don't know how the hell I managed to do this, because I do almost no. I do almost no pumping up of my YouTube channel, but somehow I managed to get to 100 subs on that one as well. So yeah, go figure, right? I am also at Facebook, Minds, Gab, MeWe, Parler, TLB Talks, Getter, although I hardly ever use Parler. Also, I have, and this is probably the best place to get a hold of me. I have a WordPress page called the Red Pill Nation, and I spent a good part of the evening here posting something up, which I will probably either be doing a topic tonight, or I will do it tomorrow. That will be on the manosphere specifically, and how, because we do have a couple of political topics today. More specifically on how it's going to affect the long-term ability of the West to wage a war if they choose to go down that route in an attempt to not fix the current problems that they're in. I've done my own research on it, and I've also looked at Grok, and I also just double. By the way, best place for information. But if you want to confirm stuff or you want to double check stuff, good way of looking for more information on it. And yeah, I might be, so either tonight or tomorrow. I will be doing a show on the information that I found out, because it's actually kind of fascinating and also a little bit disturbing if you know what the big picture is. And the topics for tonight are: topic number 1, anti-cartel riots in Mexico after city mayor is assassinated. 2, Epstein Docs Blocked Again, pending new Department Day DOJ investigation. 3, new revelations around J6 pipe bomb indicate incompetence or a cover-up, specifically around Shawnee Kirkoff. Number 4, Astroturf Campaign against Andrew Wilson is caught and exposed. 5, a lot of American political accounts on X turn out to be foreign operatives. There's one guy in particular that I want to bring to everybody's attention, Alex Cole. And 6 sitting Democrats engaged in allegedly seditious behavior, telling armed forces not to obey orders from Donald Trump. Well, it's a little bit more nuanced than that, but that's the elevator pitch anyway. So without any further ado, I will go into topic number 1 here. Just hold on a second. I gotta go back here onto. Okay, so how this ended up being a little bit of when I first looked at it, it looked like it was like, wow, this is serious. Because what ended up happening is that a mayor of a northern Mexican city ended up getting killed by the cartels. Now, the cartels in Mexico are getting a little bit desperate. They were doing really well, in particular during the Biden administration, when Biden was basically blowing the borders wide open, allowing everyone to just walk in. That is not happening under Trump. Their rather lucrative human smuggling operations are really taking a severe hit at this point in time. I mean, a really severe hit. And what's going on here is that, when the money starts running out and a lot of people in organized crime tend to live literally paycheck to pay, the equivalent of paycheck to paycheck. And they max out their lifestyle because whatever reason. And when the money dries up, they go into debt, and they end up in a lot of them end up in financial trouble. A lot of them get really desperate, because the money's just not there like it used to be. And depending upon the cartel, all of them, murder is part of the way they do business. But, it's not. Some of them are more bloodthirsty than others. Now, my research has told me that the cartel, you throw that in, and then you add in the fact that there was one particular mayor of a northern Mexican town, and I wish I could remember the guy's name. I even had it written down. Now I can't remember any of it. He got elected, and he was killed by the cartel. Now, what this did is that it caused a serious backlash, because what's been going on, and again, Canada is a different story than Mexico. Canada has been taking kind of like an antagonistic position, at least publicly, towards Donald Trump, whereas Mexico has been doing things a little bit differently. Mexico has been making all the noise of, yes, we'll support you, Trump, and what you're doing, and blah, 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 blah. And they say the right things to the right people. And then when your back is turned, they will immediately start kowtowing to the cartels and whatnot. And the video, by the way, I will now show you the video in question that I was going to show you, was of the riot that occurred outside the Capitol building in Mexico. And here it is. I'll show it to you. It's about a minute long, but it gives you an idea of how what happened. Now, when you look at that, that does not look. Here's the thing: that was in Mexico City. Again, right? The current president, a woman. Not that it really matters very much. Has been quite clearly kowtowing to the cartels to a great extent, and while that riot looked nasty and it looked like it was really hostile and angry, when actual reporters started going out into the various cities and started looking for more of these riots, they couldn't find anything. So that basically puts me in the position to conclude that there was one of two things. One, it was an Astroturf campaign designed to target the Mexican cap or that particular building and make it look like it was a whole lot more serious than what it was, or B, that was a legit spontaneous riot that just occurred randomly and then didn't occur elsewhere. Now, what really causes me to maybe think that it might have been an AstroTurf campaign is the fact that there was, and this is going to sound, because usually it's the mainstream media that pumps this stuff up, but this time it was the alt media that was making a whole bunch of claims about widespread violence in Mexico that just wasn't there. And the mainstream media did eventually get on board, but again, when somebody actually, because when I'm going to get to the Andrew Wilson thing, I will also bring this up. When I looked at the Andrew Wilson thing, all that also didn't turn out to be anything like it was, like it appeared to be. Now, there is a cartel problem. The cartels in Mexico are not as financially lucrative now as they were a year ago, because the current administration in DC has really ratcheted up security at the border, and not just for illegal immigrants, but for everything. So there's not as much money coming across the border. The current administration also, and that's, hold on a second, has also, when they sent that missile into that boat off the coast of Venezuela, which probably was a drug smuggling boat, but they don't know for sure. That was a political message being sent to some governments in South America and potentially the cartels, letting them know that the U.S. government wasn't going to be screwing around anymore. So, yeah, you have less money. You have people that are, we're talking about people that are involved in cartels and organized crime. You have a group of people that tend to be much more impulsive and tend to live up and spend all their money almost as fast as they make it, and psychopaths, whatnot. So what you end up with is a very dangerous mix. Now you throw in, and then into that mix, you toss in the mayor of this one particular city, who went on the record and publicly said that he was not going to this guy right here. They said he was not going to kowtow to the cartels anymore. And he is on I can't remember what city he was in. But yeah, they killed him, and that was kind of like, so there is an underlying anger in Mexico towards organized crime and the cartels that exist there that is potentially going to blow up at some point. It's a different situation than what's happening in Canada. But again, like both Canada and Mexico are both much less stable politically than they were, say, 2 or 3 years ago. And with that, I'll let Dragus and then V go. So, Dragus, you can go next.
Yeah, it's always something to find the on and off switch on this microphone. So, yeah, I can't wait until we put boots on the ground and just start cleaning house, border to border. And I think that may happen because Trump hasn't rolled that out yet. And as far as like the president of Mexico, well, I'll say this: most Hispanic nations from Mexico to the point of South America are a dictatorship in some sort. Right? They're not real or true democracies. So, all Trump would have to do is, if he wanted to do anything, is just throw out and say, "Hey, I'm going to use the Monroe Doctrine," and boom, that's it. He could do it. That gives him a legal right to do any of that, any kind of action. And I was in the Air Force for many years, and we turned Panama back over to the Panamanians, and I was in Panama for 4 years, back when Noriega was there. I was through that whole thing. I think it was a big mistake to let that piece of territory for our military go. I think that encouraged a lot of drug trafficking and other types of black market stuff that come into all the other countries, not only us, but Canada as well. But unlike us going into Canada, we won't do that. We don't have the grounds for that. But Mexico, oh yeah, I mean, there's a huge history of our military going into Mexico to clean stuff up over a century or two of it. So I don't see a problem with that. But a lot of folks may. V, are you there? What do you think?
Exactly. Yeah, I'm here. V, are you around? Okay, V, are you done? Yeah, okay, V, you're up.
Well, yeah, well, the Air Force. God save your soul. My dad was retired Air Force, 22 years. Yeah, I went Army. However, anyhow, so what's going on in Mexico? It's the same thing's going on in the States. However, there's no face of the corruption in the United States. It doesn't have a face. You don't take office unless you bow to the evil regime, whether they're faceless or not. Mexico, yeah, it's got a face. The cartel hits. So you're not in support of the true powers that be. well, yeah, you're gonna get your head taken off. That's the same for anywhere with any government. Whether your government is a legitimate, quote unquote, legitimate government or a cartel government, it makes no difference. Powers that be are powers that be. So the people may not be enjoying a real democratic process. I'm not going to argue that. But I do believe these cartels are necessary. Uh, I think history will need to look upon them as an example as to, since they want to have a face, this corruption wants to have a face, it needs to be looked at and used as an example for the future. People need to start seeing the similarities between us and them and see how the model truly works. Because to be honest with you, I think that's kind of why the government, the United States government, cares. That's the reason why they care. Um, land of the free, we're in everybody's business over in the Middle East, right? Around the world, world police. But we've got the worst corruption possible right next door to us. And why is that? Because that corruption mostly benefits us. Money, the drug trade, the human trafficking. It doesn't benefit you and I, but it benefits the American elite. So it's like having a junkie girlfriend, right? Bring her to the party. Yeah. Anyhow, uh, yeah. I mean, the cartels they rule the day. I just want to see how long they'll be able to last and hold the country together. Because we're like it or not, they're still holding the country together. It's not complete lawlessness. You're just trading one power for another. Legitimacy is the successful one, in my opinion. We'll talk about the legitimacy. Oh, legitimacy of the Venezuelan president. And it doesn't matter. Are they running? Are they handling up? Are they able to do international diplomacy? That looks like a government to me. So I don't care if Trump says any presidents of another nation's not legit or not, and use that as an excuse to invade. Because I mean, if the United States is going to be declaring legitimacy of any foreign leadership, then we already know that they were dictators, installed dictators. The CIA did that for the longest time, plundering South American governments, installing dictators, making them take our money, making them take debt. Okay? These are all puppet governments. Most of these governments are puppet governments that are allowed to exist because the United States government says they can. I think there needs to be a little bit of a change. Because, again, I'm not benefiting from that. You're not benefiting from that. It's only the elites. So I think, if the Mexican cartels want to throw salt in the game, hey, put some of my popcorn too, because I can't wait to watch how this goes down. And so, yeah, anyhow.
Yeah,
I'm ready for the next topic if you are.
I agree with you, and it's kind of like, building a wall. A wall is great, yeah, but you can climb over it and dig under it. There's a much better way to do that. And I've been saying this for probably 10, 20 years now. What we should do is just say, get on the phone, say, hey, Mexican government, you need to move your people 50 miles south of the border, and we're moving 50 miles north of the border, and we're going to nuke it, tactically nuke it. You can't dig under it, you can't fly over it, and you can't walk through it. If you glow, you don't belong.
Okay, all of a sudden, this final solution is starting to sound a little better.
Yeah. Anyway, by the way, folks, I have put the I am at Patreon as the Red Pill Nation. The banner is down below. Please like, please subscribe. And yeah, actually, while my revenue is actually slowly starting to go up, if you could support me on Patreon and start following me, that would be really appreciated. So that concludes this particular topic. The next topic is, I think, also kind of interesting. Oh, yes, it is. And I have a video because Via knows I usually have videos for just about everything. I have a video on this. It's from Alex Jones. Just here, let me just give me a second here because once again, Teams is being really fucking twitchy as I'm trying to timestamp this issue here. Yeah, so I have a video from Alex Jones here that I got from Alex Jones, which
can you put that in the Teams as well? Because I can watch it through my other device.
Oh,
I can't do it.
Yeah,
on here.
Okay, yeah. It's a little late now for doing that, but yeah, here we go.
I really want you to send me these things before the show.
All right, so here we go. Alex Jones, the Epstein files. Things just went absolutely insane around this, but here you go.
All right, it's Wednesday night, and Judge Robin Rosenberg, an Obama appointee, has blocked the Justice Department's request to release the Epstein files from the Florida case 15 years ago. The Trump Justice Department also wants the Epstein case in New York opened and the Ghislaine one. They want all the grand jury, all the court transcripts, all the court documents, everything released. But Maureen Comey, who ran those cases, got them sealed, including Ghislaine Maxwell's client list. But we hear from the Wall Street Journal, who's had Trump's lawsuit filed against them, assigned to another Obama judge to shut it down, says, their sources say in the Epstein files, Trump is named. Well, of course, there's giant FBI files that the Democrats controlled. And of course, there's going to be mentions of Donald Trump at Mar-a-Lago, where Epstein was a member until Trump kicked him out 15 years ago or 16 years ago. And I've been predicting this. So it's true. The Democrats have been in control of those files, and they would have used anything real they had previously. And notice the Democrats in Congress that have asked for the Epstein files want only stuff about Trump. And what is it? Doodles he supposedly sent with no proof, or Jane Does that have been proven to be fake back in 2016, 2017? I predicted a recycling of all of it. It's happening. And then Pelosi came out today, when she could sober up for a minute, and put out a post on X saying, I hear there's flight logs of him on the plane with Epstein a couple times. You mean in the photos they took with his wife and kid decades ago when Trump's plane was broken and flew from New York down to Palm Beach where they both lived? Yeah, they knew each other. They were friends. It's never been a secret. It's going to be a recycling of it all. When Trump acted wild 16, 17 days ago, I said it's going to Streisand affect this and make the Democrats go crazy. And I said back then it's because I believe Maureen Comey probably spiked the files with some stuff. They took bad stuff out about them, put in just some recycled crap about Trump, and now my predictions have come true. This is real wargaming. And I was pissed at Trump for the Streisand effect thing, but it's going to be more nothing burgers. What we know is that Obama ordered the illegal spying of Crossfire Hurricane against not just Trump, but myself and the others. And now all the documents have been delivered, and the fact that Hillary was on all these drugs and totally insane, according to the DNC and Obama, and then Obama ordered the entire Russiagate thing and tried to take down Trump. That is treason. So this better not be like the Durham report, a bunch of BS. We want to see action and indictments now. And the word is you are, because Trump knows they're going to get him and his family. They're going to get us if they don't get brought to justice. So what a time to be alive. Democrats, as I predicted, I told Trump, so did Roger weeks ago, we said, publicly and privately, we said, order all the real files from the court cases released, the grand juries and the bank records. Democrats don't want that because it doesn't implicate Trump. It implicates them, Bill Gates, Prince Andrew, and others. I'll be reporting more on this tomorrow live, 11 a.m. Central, and Infowars.com/show, and right here on X at Real Talk Shows. But it is true what Elon said months ago. Trump doesn't want it out back in May because his name's in it and didn't want to be sucked into a new Russia. Not that he's guilty, but it would be the new Russia. But Elon told the truth. So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. I'll keep reporting the facts right here on X. Real Talk Shows on X. Follow me there.
Yeah, so this has been a big sticking point when it comes to Trump. And keep in mind, by the way, that I am not, and I don't think V is either. Neither one of us is like Team Trump, but we're definitely not Team Democrat. And the whole situation here is that there's two factors that I think are involved in this. One is that these files, which are now in possession of the current administration, give that administration the ability to do the same thing that the previous owners of said files were doing, and that was the ability to blackmail and get things done. The other part is, and this is something that Alex Jones mentioned in that video, is the fact that, and this is something that's been coming up like all the time, is that, the Democrats are making a lot of noise about Epstein, but if they had something on Epstein, why didn't they release it during the 2024 administration? The reason that, this is like Russia all over again. It's not very often that I actually will go into lockstep with Alex Jones on this, but this is exactly what it appears to be. They had the vote in Congress 2 weeks ago. Voted overwhelmingly, like there was one vote against it, right, to release the files. And then they were about to. And then all of a sudden, and I didn't know that the Democrats were the ones that were behind it. All of a sudden, the Democrats come up with release all of this new evidence, which basically forces the Justice Department to delay the releasing of the files. Jones is also right on another aspect of this. And this is something that Kelso has talked about rather frequently. We're not dealing with sane, rational people here. We're not dealing with people that will look at stuff and try to put two and two together and go, yeah, removing Trump will be a good idea because the person that comes after him might be a little. My feeling on J.D. Vance is that J.D. Vance is not a particularly agreeable or agreeable guy. J.D. Vance is by no means a saint either. He's also part of the system. But if they think they're going to get an easier run on things by eliminating Trump and Trump's family, they're dead set and they're dead wrong. In fact, that whole assassination of Charlie Kirk quite clearly proved that using assassination as a tool doesn't work, right? They killed the messenger. They killed Charlie Kirk, and what ended up happening is that it ended up galvanizing. And I've noticed that there's a sharp increase in what I would call actual far right rhetoric coming out of the right now, than there was pre-Charlie Kirk. And by the way, yeah, the far right is still out there. You have to go to Gab and you have to go to BitChute to find them, but they're still out there, right? And they are as dangerous, as unhinged, and as insane as the far left. They're just not getting propped up by the state and by the establishment the way the far left is. So yeah, this looks like a desperate power play. And yeah, it is Trump mentioned. I found out the reason that yes, he did fly an Epstein's plane twice. and that was from New York to Florida. And the last time he took the plane was almost like a full year before Epstein even bought the island. So yeah, Trump was never at the island at any point. Also, they're both super wealthy. Those people, like even in a place like New York, everybody does know everybody. And I've noticed this was specifically with Epstein. Epstein liked being photographed with famous people. You know, I've seen a lot of photographs with Epstein with a lot of like famous people. So having him in a photograph with Trump is not the own that a lot of people think it is. Now, there is also, and this is something that has come up and I've heard a few times. It's like the bad guys, specifically when it comes to Epstein, like if they don't start holding the bad guys accountable, and I mean, yeah, the bad guys usually do tend to get away with stuff, especially if they're like elites. But if the bad guys don't start getting held accountable, you're going to have a revolution. And by the way, like I said, what I'm going to be doing potentially either tonight or tomorrow is I'm going to be doing a video about how the manosphere is basically changing the dynamic and about how the manosphere could literally prevent the West, including the U.S., from really actually being able to engage in a long-term war. But that's for that particular episode. Yeah, they keep making all of this stuff up about Epstein, but at the same time, when moves to release the files are made, it's the same group that blocks the release of the files. So, I mean, it's like there's obviously, like Alex Jones was saying, this looks like Russia, Russia, Russia all over again. And yeah, it's kind of annoying, but that's just kind of like where we're at. I would like to find out who's on that list too. And yeah, there are probably Republicans on that list, and there's probably also Democrats. There's also probably going to be a lot of people from Hollywood, a lot of people from finance. There's going to be a lot of CEOs. There's going to be a lot of very powerful people that are going to be on that list. Because, I mean, and this is getting off into the pedophile part of this program. And I've been accused of doing this myself. It's like, why am I so obsessed with pedophiles? I'm not really obsessed with pedophiles, right? I don't have kids. I don't have a dog in that fight specifically. Here's the issue that keeps coming up, though, when it comes to pedophiles in Hollywood. First of all, I do have connections in the film industry. This comes up there, right? It's like for instance, the treatment of Sound of Freedom and the reaction to Sound of Freedom by Hollywood was really chilling. The way they tried to hype up that movie. They literally tried to astroturf this movie of a transgender gangster, and they tried to actually, even though the movie lost like tens of millions of dollars, they tried to astroturf this movie into being nominated for Film of the Year, right? So it's like I don't specifically go around looking for pedophiles, but they have this bad habit of showing up all over the place. And when they show up all over the place and people try to prosecute them, they tend to have, in particular the ones at the top, always seem to have support from the establishment to protect their ass, right? So again, right, I don't have a specific, like I'm not one of those guys who's out gung-ho about trying to go out and capture all them child kitty diddlers, right? But they keep showing up, right? They keep popping up, they keep appearing, and this is exactly the same situation with Epstein, right? And yeah, the Democrats are playing a really stupid game here, and it could seriously backfire. But then again, to quote Kelso, we're not talking about sane, rational people. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Dragus.
All right. When it comes to when it comes to this Epstein file thing, right now, There's a lot of Democrats that are old, and you got these new Democratic socialists. There's big power plays going on behind the scenes there. So I suspect that these new people want the old guard out of the way. And they're the ones that's for turning it over. And the old guard's like, hey, my name's probably in there, you know, or, you know, I know a guy who knows a guy, you know, and my business deals on Wall Street won't go through if he's not there. So, you know, I think a lot of that may be happening right now, especially coming up on these mid elections. What do you think, V?
Well, anyone who knows me knows that I am obsessed with pedophiles. I absolutely abhor them. They should be found and rooted out. I'm like a dark angel going after the fallen. Okay, they must be rooted out. They must be exposed, interrogated, and punished. Removed from society.
I agree with you 100%. Having said
Oh
it,
yeah, yeah. You're
all
preaching
right,
to the choir there. Like I said, man.
I agree with you 100% on that.
Well, so
Yeah, that's
well, I was gonna say so. With these files, okay. Yeah, I had said before on the show, yeah. So Trump never actually went to the island. However, he did hang out with Epstein before, and I always said that billionaires don't have a lot of friends because, well, people in a certain tax bracket tend to hang out with people from their own tax bracket. Uh, so it's not exactly damning. However, him having it in his hands, this list, I think he wants to make some people sweat. I think he's torturing people psychologically. If this is if he's not a major implication in those files, if he's not an implication, then he's dangling people over fires, and he's just enjoying doing it. Now, if he is in those files with incriminating uh, uh, evidence, then yeah, I don't know. But from the way he's acting like he's king of the universe. I'm thinking that's probably not the case, or maybe he'll have those particular files edited, redacted, disappeared, something. Because I don't think he's openly gonna just not implicate himself. I think. Well, a friend of mine, I'll just say this, just to add into this. A friend of mine thinks he's gonna hold on to those papers until his administration is over. He's gonna get on one of his Saudi airplanes and fly over to the Middle East with all his money. He's gonna be somewhere where he can't be extradited, and he's gonna live the rest of his criminal life hiding from the from the Democrats in America. So I don't know. It's just one of those things that time remains to it remains to be seen. Only time can tell.
If that was the case, don't you think more would have left already?
No. Again, he's acting like he's king of the castle here. So he's either got he's either got somebody's balls in a jar somewhere, or he's waiting to distance himself so he can pull the string while he's at that distance. So I don't know. I think we'll see.
I don't know, man. I don't see. I mean, again, my take on this is this is something that just keeps being brought up. If the Democrats had something on him when they had full access to the files during the Biden administration, knowing the lengths that they went to try to like they literally had a guy in Butler.
Naroki, sorry.
They literally had a guy in Butler, PA, try to take a shot at him. We were just talking about him on the last week's show, right? They would have used it. You know, that's the whole logic behind it, is that they would have used it, and they didn't, right? And you know, like that's the issue, is that if they had all this damning information about Trump in those files, they would have absolutely used it during the Biden administration.
Well,
and they didn't.
Don't forget, Trump has a little thing called the CIA and the license to kill. So don't forget about that.
Yeah, well, during the Biden administration, he didn't have access to that apparatus. So yeah, you know, that particular part. Also, the fact that the stuff that has been released clearly shows that Epstein was not Epstein and Trump did clearly, especially after Trump booted him out of his club in Mar-a-Lago. Like, Epstein clearly did not like Trump, right? And you know, those two factors don't add up, right? That's my take on it, right? I mean, is Trump a ruthless motherfucker? Yeah. Has he probably signed warrants to get people to be killed while he's been president? Yeah, he probably has. Basically, thing is, though, is that every president that over the last century has probably also signed orders to have people killed. That's one of the things about being one of the jobs about being president that tends to weigh on a lot of people. Apparently, it really weighed down on Jimmy Carter quite a bit, but it should be duly noted that even Carter probably, like, we're kind of getting off on a bit of a tangent here, but we all remember when the Iranians took over the U.S. embassy in Iran. What is not so well known is that the government of Pakistan allowed fundamentalist Islamic protesters to storm the embassy in Karachi about a year later, and Carter did absolutely nothing about that. Now, there was some diplomacy behind the scenes, and like the protesters were removed from the U.S. embassy, and there'd been enough time between what happened in Iran and what happened in Pakistan that the U.S. the U.S. Embassy in Karachi had put in fail safes or safe areas that could be locked up and hidden that prevented the Pakistanis from basically engaging in the same type of hostage activity that they had in Iran. But you know, it did happen, and Carter did absolutely nothing. So yeah, so much for the noble Democrats here. But yeah, yeah, I mean, not necessarily Team Trump, but this is just my opinion at this point. I mean, you know, while I'm not necessarily Team Trump, there's just not, and I'm because again, probably because my introduction to politics as a form started out with me. One of the first books I read was Manufacturing Consent. And yeah, before you start going, Jew, liberal, whatever, you know, I've read enough of Noam Chomsky's stuff. Like, Noam Chomsky does not, like, Manufacturing Consent was written during the Reagan administration. So yeah, the Reagan administration got spit roasted in Manufacturing Consent. If you've read a lot of Noam Chomsky's other stuff, though, like, you find out that he hasn't been exactly noted for giving the Democrats a break either. Just saying. So unless anybody else has anything more to say, we're going to move on to the next topic here. Does anybody have anything more to say? Going once?
Good.
Going once, going twice. Okay, so then hold on a second here. Let me just timestamp this. Yeah, this next one is about the pipe bomb. Now, this is a very interesting little bit here. Just hold on a second. And of course, Teams is being twitchy as fuck again. Ah, there we go. I got a couple of videos about this, specifically about the pipe bomber, which is, by the way, something that the mainstream media really fought very hard to prevent too much discussion about it. But yeah, I got a couple of videos on this. So here we go. And first one. There we go.
Patriots, brace yourselves because the January 6th pipe bomb story just detonated again tonight. The internet is on fire with verified posts claiming Capitol Police officer Shawnee Kirkoff as the potential bomber caught on the FBI's own surveillance footage. She walked away from the Capitol Police just 6 months after J6, then slipped quietly into a 3-letter intelligence agency.
You recently met with Capitol Police.
Correct. Today.
And what did you learn in that meeting?
I learned that backpack guy, January 6th backpack guy, not to be confused with January 5th backpack person. Backpack guy was a non-uniform, plainclothes police officer, in the employ of the Capitol Hill Police.
From the front and from behind, their mannerisms, how they carry the backpack, even swing their arms. Military intelligence sources tell me that someone's gait can be as unique as a fingerprint and may lead to more tips. The FBI reward has stood at $100,000, and based on my reporting, the identification of this suspect is a Tier 1 priority for federal investigators. It is the missing link in the timeline leading up to the riots. The FBI says the pipe bombs were planted on the evening of the 5th, and the devices were not discovered until the following day as the riots unfolded.
Okay, so the first thing that comes up around this is that, yeah, like you saw the gait, the walk of the person that was doing this, and she's a little bit on the tall side for a woman, but I mean, it looks like a woman. There's like that noticeable lack of muscle mass with them. Here's the really, really strange part about that is that the Capitol Police, the day before Kirkoff said put out those bombs, allegedly put out those bombs. The places where they put out, there was one particular location where the Capitol Police were moved the day before. So who ordered that to be done? The investigators with the FBI, when they actually started looking at this thing and they started getting close, all of a sudden, high-ranking officials in the FBI suddenly pulled the investigating officers or the investigating agents off the case and sent them off on another. Because yeah, they had Shawnee Kirkoff dead to rights. The house that she was the car that she had borrowed was from a retired DC police officer, whom, by the way, she just happened to live next door to. There was a transit ticket that also, hold on a second. No. The transit pass belonged to the officer. Sorry, my mistake. And she had her own car. That. And by the way, this is not the first time that DC police have been notorious for having security breakdown. If you remember the 2020 the Republican convention was held in DC, and there were these curious little breakdowns in the security net, which allowed particular individuals to go and harass anybody they couldn't get into the event, but they were able to harass anybody who was leaving the event. And very particular breakdowns, like almost like selective. And also, I got to get, and this has to be pointed out specifically when it comes to DC. I mean, for going back to Marion Barry, who, as we all know, got arrested. He was found not guilty, of course, but I mean, he was arrested for drug possession. There has been a long list of, and I'm going to have to point this out, Democrat mayors in DC that have refused to do any type of a cleanup in the city, which is the reason why Donald Trump had to bring in the National Guard. And by the way, we will be discussing the shooting that occurred outside the White House. We will be discussing that on the next show, which will be in a couple of days. The whole thing, just there's a lot of stuff around this. And just also, and the other thing that stands out to me about Kirkoff is how she left the DC police force and just happened to get herself a nice, well-paying security job inside one of the alphabet agencies 6 months after J6. And, you know, like there's just enough pieces there. And the whole, what really kind of boggles my mind yet, and this is something that Trump said he was going to do, he was going to launch a full-scale investigation about the events on J6, because there just seems to be either selective leaks, or there just seems to be like this narrative just keeps disintegrating on them. And you have perhaps you guys have noticed that even the Democrats and the establishment have kind of backed off on the J6 rhetoric as all of these leaks have taken place. And, you know, again, it was duly noted at the time when these pipe bombs were discovered that, you know, that the media and the FBI didn't want to address the issue of the pipe bomb. And the follow-up with the FBI agents not being allowed to basically do the correct follow-up on who it was that was doing it. And the fact that you have a DC police, and by the way, yeah, the DC police are probably as corrupt as hell, that there was a DC police officer complicit in putting these bombs out. And I mean, there's only two possibilities as to why they would do it. It was either a false flag or it was some type of a drill. I am just going to say this. I mean, putting pipe bombs out the day before J6. By the way, I'm sure we all remember about those drills that happened around 9/11, about the drills that happened with that subway bombing in LA. You know, like it's a very, like they have
the Boston Marathon
and the Boston Marathon as well. The way all of these drills just seem to kind of coincidentally happen around these events, right? Yeah, you know what? Like it's looking very much like there was definitely some intelligence apparatus involved in this. And the subsequent arrest of the J6 protesters was just a bunch of political grandstanding, which again, right? This, by the way, is on top of the Epstein Docs, right? Like, yeah, someone, and I mean, yeah, Kelso's a little bit more skeptical about this. If they do not clean house in DC, by the way, I'm also going to point this out about China and Russia too. All three of the major powers are dealing with serious sets of issues which are going to are going to seriously impede their ability to engage in a sustained war. And all three of these nations are also facing internal pressures which could cause them to collapse. And it's like literally like all three of those nations just seem to be on a race to the bottom at this point. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Dragus.
Oh yeah, it's all part of the design, don't you know? You know, if all the big powers fail, then that hidden group of elite come out with that new world order that they've been striving for so many generations now. So, yeah, I see that is an issue, but if they don't work through them, and it starts here first, so if they can work it all out, then it'll set them back maybe a decade or two. They've already moved certain things to what is it, 2030 and 2035. Well, what's next? 2050 and 2070 and whatever. I'm like, of course, because that's how they do things.
Okay then. Yeah, I assume you're done there. I'm not getting any other audio. Yeah, false flag all the way. Obviously, false flag. So when these departments, you got like Department of Homeland Security, or you have this department, that department. What people don't understand is crime does pay. It pays the authorities. There's no crime, they're not getting paid. So you have organizations like these state-installed terrorist groups, like Homeland Security. Their funding is pulled. They're not pulling in criminals. Okay, so many Muslims were persecuted, innocent, thought they were criminals, thrown into a cage and shipped off to Guantanamo. Innocent people. So right before the Boston bombings, what was? Yeah, I believe it was Homeland Security. They were threatening to have their funding pulled because they just weren't doing anything. Boom! Next thing you know, it's almost the next day. They're having drills, and then there's a terrorist attack. So each one of these things, each one of these treasonous departments is autonomous. Treasonous department of whatever agencies. They have their own little cells to make sure they perpetuate the money. There's going to be terrorist attacks. They're never going to stop, so long as you have a department that is funded by it. Literally funded by it. Just think about that for a second.
He was always brought up to me, and I didn't catch it until later on when I was watching Jordan Maxwell one day. How many departments are called the Criminal Justice Department?
Criminal justice system.
Yeah, or
yes.
System. Yeah, or system.
Yes.
That means the criminals are in charge, right?
Right. Exactly. That's what they call it in California. criminal justice system.
Yeah, I'm in Texas, so I'm just a little ways up from a little south of Waco, so I understand this. I'm not from
Okay.
here, but I get it.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, if you're going to have agents investigating something, you pull them off and send them somewhere else. Yeah, it's obvious. And of course, they don't want this in the media because of their blundering mistakes, for one. And secondly, they're not after people with pipe bombs. They would rather take our guns. They're going to hype all the shootings, the Manchurian candidates they want to send out to terrorize the population, all the targeted people that they drive insane with their psychological operations to go and shoot up people. That's what they want because that's targeting our guns. They can't bust in our houses saying that we have pipe bombs, knowing damn well that we don't. So it's of no use. Yeah. So this might be a guy that just needs to redirect to do something else. Uh, uh, Put him under a different mind control. Maybe he'll they want to reserve this guy for later. Okay, they would rather not have him as a CIA bomber, but a on shelf NSA shooter. So that's kind of what happened.
Okay, you done? All right. So, guys, before we get on to the next topic here, I am gonna post up another informational video. Yeah. It's yeah. Just have a look. It also give me a chance to go to the bathroom here. So, yep. Watch this video for about a minute and a half, and then we can get on to the next topic. So here we go.
7 signs of a stupid person. You may want to save this video for later and pass this on to someone who needs it. 1. A constant need to be right. People who can't consider other perspectives or admit they might be wrong reveal low self-awareness. They reject feedback and stay stuck. 2. Blaming others for everything. Instead of owning their actions, they shift responsibility onto anyone but themselves, which keeps them from growing. 3. Talking more than listening. They dominate conversations, ignore what others say, and care more about their own voice than learning anything new. 4. Refusing to learn. Whether it's avoiding challenges or dismissing advice, a closed mind keeps them stagnant, while smarter people stay curious and adaptable. 5. Overconfidence without substance. They act like experts without knowledge or experience, often speaking impulsively and exposing their lack of depth. 6. Judging others too quickly. Snap assumptions and stereotypes show a lack of empathy and almost always lead to unfair conclusions and strained relationships. 7. The perpetual complainer. They treat complaining as a form of action. They identify problems but offer no solutions and have zero tolerance for anyone who suggests effort. A stupid person points out what's wrong. A smart person finds a way to fix it.
Yep. So there we go. Gave me the chance to get in. Alex looks like he has to get going here really soon. So yeah, I will just timestamp this and then we'll get on to this next topic and then and then Alex will hopefully be able to
Mark
to run here. Mark. I don't know why I called you Alex. Duh.
You were speaking about
Mark.
that.
Sorry,
Alex
Mark.
Wood's character, probably.
All right, so this next one. Oh, wow. I have a whole bunch of videos about this one. Yeah, this is a very interesting. I mean, what the newest tactic of feminism and leftists has been to, and this is something that I first saw I can't remember what her name was. I saw her try to pull this on Tim Pool a few years ago, where during the interview, she would deliberately say things to try to get Tim Pool in a kind of like a gotcha moment. And Andrew had and I'm not kidding you on this, a 6-hour interview with this transgender woman named Charlie. It was a long one. In fact, it's so long that you really don't have. I really don't have the time to listen to the whole entire thing. Although I may have to, because what ended up happening is they had this interview. They did this debate. It lasted 6 hours, and then about a week after the interview, all of a sudden, social media got flooded with these claims from leftists and manginas and feminist supporters claiming that the red pill had been destroyed and that Andrew had done a number on that Chuck or Charlie had done a number on Andrew Wilson based on a 1:23 section of a 6-hour interview. And anybody who had seen the interview quite clearly shows that Charlie did not do this sort of thing. I think it's probably best if I just show you the two videos first before I get into the tactics that feminists are now trying to use on Andrew Wilson. And by the way, also to a lesser extent on Fresh and Fit and the Whatever podcast. But here we go. I got two videos. They're going to last probably about 3 minutes in total. But here's the first one. This is the one, by the way, that feminists are using to claim that the red pill has been destroyed.
I'll try to rephrase this. I'm going to reframe, and I'm just going to be totally honest with you. I will never be able to convince you of my worldview.
You won't.
I know. But the reason is not because I'm not a great orator, or I don't make good points, or I haven't said things which should be compelling to a person. But Charlie, I just think, honestly, you're too fucking stupid to understand them.
So, Andrew, can I sell you on my worldview?
Yes.
Your wife has 3 baby daddies and has been married twice before.
And you
you
lick sniz.
Under your religion.
You lick sniz.
What does that
You're
mean?
a fucking dyke. Don't talk shit about my wife, you stupid bitch. Shut your fucking mouth. Shut your stupid bitch mouth.
Your wife with the 3 baby
What did I
daddies?
just say? Dyke?
Your wife with the 3 baby daddies?
I'm sorry, Dyke. Is she morally inconsequential in comparison to your ditch licking?
Do the men that you try to...
Do the women that you try
show
to...
your hatred against...
Do the women that you try
convince
to...
them that they shouldn't...
You know, Charlie, did I bring...
Women? Do they know
Charlie,
that
did I bring your family...
5 years older?
Did I bring any of your family into anything?
Stupid.
Did I say anything about your family being stupid, Charlie?
You could.
It's
You could
because
go
I'm
for it.
better than you, Charlie.
No, it's because you're embarrassed, and you know that the traditional values that you try to sell people on are bullshit because
Let's
you
go
are not
through
a
it.
Traditional man.
Chuck, let's go through it.
You are not a traditional man.
Let's go through it, Chuck. Tell me what I'm doing which is immoral.
Yeah. They used that clip to try to claim that the red pill had been destroyed. Obviously, she brought up Andrew's wife, but then there's this next one. And again, Andrew Wilson is absolutely ruthless when it comes to debating feminists. But yeah, let's just take a look at the second one here.
Did your wife had a no-fault divorce?
I'm not going to get into my personal life with you, Chuck.
All right, but if you're saying that Christian nationalists, they're pro-show cause but against at-fault divorce, then it's the same thing.
Okay, Chuck, well, what happened is her ex-husband went in the room and beat her half to death.
Yeah,
and
that's
ripped.
horrible,
Shut up,
man.
Chuck.
That's horrible.
Shut up, Chuck. But you want me to relive it, and you want me to tell you about it, so I will.
All right.
And ripped out half of her tongue. Ripped it out of her fucking head. And so the thing is funny, Chuck. Thanks, by the way, for reminding me of that.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Which Christian nationalist would say that divorce under those circumstances was not appropriate?
Who's the dude that was berating his pregnant
You
wife?
tell me. Chuck. Steven Crowder?
Yeah.
You think Steven Crowder, who's one of Rachel's best friends?
That's one of her best friends?
Yes. And one of mine.
Jesus Christ. You were telling your wife's like you are talking about her horrific trauma, and then you're saying like that like freaking Steven Crowder.
Steven Crowder didn't lay a finger on his wife.
You are hanging out with users of women that want to trap women.
Steven Crowder never laid a finger on his wife, you lying bitch.
As far as we fucking know.
No, as far as she claimed publicly, you fucking idiot. You don't even know anything about the case. Can you tell me that Hillary Crowder has said that Steven Crowder ever touched her? Because she's then why are you making these allegations? You just made an accusation that Steven Crowder abused his wife, total lies, said that he beat her up, total fucking lies, said that he would hate Rachel Wilson, who's one of his best friends. You're a idiot. You don't know what you're talking about.
Bullshit this whole night, and you
literally don't know what you're talking about.
I watched your debates.
Well, Chuck, I'm surprised you didn't learn from any of them, because good Lord, it was a terrible showing for you the whole night, and you really ended it with a flourish, let me tell you.
I didn't come here to win.
Yeah, well, I'm glad, because that wasn't going to happen.
Okay, so yeah, this debate was about 2-3 weeks ago. And what ended up happening, let's see if Dragus is still here. Yeah, he's still here. Okay, and what ended up happening is that it was 6 hours long. And I don't watch Andrew Wilson. I will watch his shorter content on the Crucible, but I don't get into watching his debates because, like, one, I don't have 6 hours to be listening to a debate like this. And when I get into the 6 hour thing, I will specifically go into why people like this drag the debates out for as long as they do. And it's not because they're there to try to make a point or they're there to win. The aim was, and the fact of the matter was that the debate occurred, and then it was like a week to about 10 days after the debate took place. Then this little 1.5-minute segment of a 6 hour long video got released. Well, I haven't seen the specific event around it because, again, right, like, who has 6 hours? Like, I don't generally have 6 hours out of my day to sit there and listen to a debate that goes on that long, right? My only conclusion is that she deliberately, and this is something that they do. They will try to have these debates go on as long as humanly possible. And what they will do, and because this has happened with Andrew Wilson before with another person, which we also covered on this show, is that they will take a small snippet of that debate and will blow it up out of context and try to pass that off as though it was some type of a win. And what really got to me this time on this particular issue is not only did they try to act like this was some type of a win, they literally, and I actually saw this on Twitter and YouTube, and on Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, on all of the major social media outlets, they tried to act like this was somehow some type of a death blow against the manosphere and against the red pill, right? Deliberate flooding of the Whatever podcast and of Wilson's feed on Twitter to try to make it look like they lost. And of course, you have to go in when you're dealing with this and you have to peel away the layers. And when you peel away the layers, because ironically enough, one of the other topics is going to be about fake political accounts, right? When I start looking at a lot of these individuals that were posting this up, like a lot of these accounts on for instance, on YouTube, have 0 followers, don't have any content, whatnot. And it's like they just said this stuff publicly. And because the video is so long, because the debate is so long, right? In order to go in and actually fact check what they're claiming, you have to watch the entire video, right? Now, I've seen parts of it, and when Andrew Wilson is calling Chuck an absolute fucking moron, she is not kidding. I mean, Like, I mean, like literally, she says that at the end of the second video. Oh, I didn't come here to win. Well, she didn't win, right? That's the part. That's the part about this that just like, and but I mean, like the leftists were all acting like she had won. That was the part that really blew my. I mean, you know, again, right? There's gonna probably be a couple people going, "Well, what were you expecting?" Blah blah blah. It's like, yeah, okay, yeah, all right. I knew that this was gonna happen, right? I'm in no way surprised that because this is something in particular from this leftist group that they will quite happily take something out of context and they will try to pass it off as though something else happened. And of course, right, I mean, then it's up to Andrew to have to and the people who support Andrew to have to debate this. And it was total, it looks like complete and total AstroTurf. They took it a step further though, and they tried to make it look like they really tried to make it look like he had lost. And again, right, the intentional dragging of the content out for 6 hours like that, is done because it's like, yeah, most people don't have 6 hours to sit there and try to find this content to try to get the context, right? So when I accuse some of these people of actually trying to produce, and of course, right, when we're talking about this crowd, when you start asking them to actually produce the goods, right, the goods will either be snark, ad hominem attacks against me, or they will just like outright refuse to answer. But they will do basically anything other than actually produce the goods. And, again, this is the case here. Again, this is not the first time. Although I do think that Andrew Wilson should have kept the debate up at his website. The debate is not there. Again, it is available on whatever, though, if you want to take a look at it. It is 6 hours long. Again, though, this is a very, I would say, rather common tactic that this group will, the woke left will use to try to drum up support. And again, nobody outside their little group bought it. The issue was, though, is that even though people weren't buying it, they actually took it a step further and actually went on to Andrew Wilson's sites and tried to make it look like he had lost, even though he hadn't. And by the way, that would also include some hypocritical conservatives, particularly Isabella DeLuca and a couple of others. But anyway, I'm going to let Dragus go because he needs to get going on his stuff. So I'll let Dragus finish off, and then it's just going to be me and V for the last two.
All right. Yeah. I've watched him a few times before, and he seems to pull in that kind of crowd. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, absolutely, he does. Yeah,
he has a knack for that genre and niche for it. All right. As a broadcaster, now I do AM, FM, and also the video and internet radio. Going more than 2 hours for anything without breaks, you're going to lose lots of people. And he loses me a lot because I'll if I watch him, I'll take like snippets like you did. And then once I see you snippet where he was going and who he was with and that, I understand where he's coming from. And, you don't need all that time to do that. That's where he would have lost a lot of folks with. But then again, he might have picked up other people along the way, and he has, groupie followings. You know that.
Yep.
So, they're going to be there regardless. So, that helped him. But as far as that type of that kind of broadcast, I'm not into that. You haven't heard me curse tonight, and that's one big thing that I'm really against for broadcasters. If you're going out in the air, you need to be out there so that anybody who's tuned in, whether they have their kids with them or they're in another country, you need to be a little bit mindful. Now, for me, I have to follow FCC rules, so there's that. Here you don't have to so much, but you're still liable if that person that was on his show, if they said something that was not true, they could be sued. And I've seen it happen, to other folks that I've known, that's done this type stuff. You got to be very careful. And one thing that they probably have, they probably, they're big enough that they probably have their own lawyer or lawyers that make people, when they come in, sign a non-disclosure agreement, or, if this is said, you can't take legal action against us because you agreed first to come on our show. There's a lot that goes involved with stuff like that. As for how he goes about it, I think he brings up some points, but I see a lot of the same type of stuff, whether he's covering a group of like different students and things like that, to a one-on-one interview like you just presented him doing. Do I agree with him? Yeah, some things I agree with, but they're within reason. They're, because we're all individuals and we all need to critically think. So that's where I stand with him on how he does stuff, and the show itself, his streams, I should say. But thanks for having me in tonight. I appreciate it. I will be on live later, not myself in particular. I don't do my own shows. I have a slew of hosts that work for me and do stuff for me. And tonight we have Censorship Sucks Roundtable Radio Show coming on at 7:30 Eastern Standard Time. We'll be live on the radio side at 8 o'clock.
Yeah, I'm going to have to get on your show at some point. I'll try to keep the F-bombs down to a minimum when I'm on. V, go ahead.
Well, I'm kind of confused as the relationship here. Yes, I'm a host. I'm classically trained. I've been with quite a few radio stations and radio networks. Show had been syndicated at one point in time. Yes, the FCC is. Yeah, it's one of those things. I do agree with the point of not cursing, because I don't do any cursing myself when I broadcast. However, I'm not seeing how that was related with the debate. Was there too much cursing? Is it not for a wider audience? I didn't see it. So I was confused with that.
Yeah, well, like I say, I cover Manosphere. I cover Manosphere content, so I mean, this was in particular like Andrew Wilson, and a lot of the reason why he keeps bringing up the same points is because the people that he debates with keep bringing up these same debunked points over and over and over again, and the result is always the same, right? And it's like, say what you want to about whatever in Fresh and Fit and what Andrew Wilson does, for instance, on whatever, which, by the way, is now the largest show directly connected to the manosphere, followed up very quickly by Fresh and Fit. Say what you want to about these shows. I mean, it's like, and I mean, I've also heard this claim about Wilson's been dealing with a lot of low-hanging fruit. I mean, I'm just going to be straight up front. I'm just going to say it. Like, Wilson deals with a lot of low-hanging fruit. And, the whole issue with both Fresh and Fit and whatever is that, like, when these individuals come on these shows, and by the way, you're talking probably somewhere between 4,000 and 4,500 women between those two shows over the last 5 years, right? And you're seeing like, without fail, you see a lot of consistent, like, just outright leftist stupidity coming out of these women's mouths. And it's like, they keep making, and they come up with these individuals who try to come on and try to get Andrew in these gotcha moments. That's literally the best they can do. And it's like, I'm also going to throw this out here, and this is something that a lot of people tend to, because one of the excuses that they will pull was Fresh and Fit and whatever is that, oh, well, they just got a bunch of Instagram models and porn stars that go on the show. No. They've had feminists come on. They've had older women come on there. They've had women that were working for. They've had women that they've had female podcasters come on that show. Right? It's not just been Instagram models and porn stars that have shown up at Fresh and Fit and whatever. Right? The number of women that have been on that show, though, and the number of guests they've had on that show is somewhere probably between those two is about 4,000 and 4,500. Right? The average political poll, like the ones that determine who is the next president, usually have numbers maybe anywhere from about a quarter to a half of that sample size. So what you're seeing a lot with Fresh and Fit and whatever is, like those sheer weight of numbers and the total, like, just absolute cluelessness, and the way they're able to consistently, and keep in mind, I don't watch Fresh and Fit and whatever again, because the shows go, which is ironic because my show, at least this one, tends to go on for a while. I don't have the time to be watching those shows, and it's like, and listening to some of those women opine is enough to just kind of like make my eyes roll back into my head to the point where I can see my brain, right?
That's why I do 2 hour shows.
Yeah, and it's like
shows every night. That's all you need.
Yep, and it's like, I listen to these shows, and it's like, there's been so many of these women that have gone on these shows and have made fools of themselves that it's sort of like you have to start taking, and I get some people might be uncomfortable with me saying this, but the sample size that they have used now can legitimately be argued that is actually a respective sampling of the female, certainly of the two most recent generations of women in the United States in particular. And I'm also going to say, and by the way, and I might be getting, I don't usually get into race on this show, but I mean, like, I hate to say this, man, but a lot of the African-American women that go on those shows, they just, like, I think I've seen one the whole time on both of those shows that actually had her act together. And this has been something that's been pointed out to me, because, I mean, I look at African-American women, Black women, just specifically in the United States, and I go and I talk to Black women that are from Africa, or even talk to Black women that are from Europe, or Black women that are from South America, and you're not seeing that same level of toxicity there. So there is something specifically about Black women in North America.
I can tell you what it is. Materialism.
Oh yeah.
Being obsessed with status because of the abuse that they've been through, and they're told how to climb the ladder, which is totally incorrect.
Yeah, it's absolutely, I mean, yeah, it is not a black woman problem, because if it was just a black woman problem, then all black women all over the globe would be like this, and they're not, right? Like, I've worked with a lot of black women from like actual African, born and raised in Africa, now living in North America, obviously, but I mean, I've seen how they act versus how the black women who've been raised in North America act. And I can tell you there is a very distinct difference between the two of them. I mean, black women from Africa are by head and shoulders generally a lot more acceptable and agreeable, and you wouldn't mind having them around than most black women who were born and raised in North America. Like, it's not even close. Right. So there is a specific, and I have seen this on Fresh and Fit and whatever, right? I mean, like, the black women that they've had on those shows have just been absolutely horrid, like deplorably bad. Like, and I mean, I mean, again, there are exceptions to the rule. There always is. But I mean, it's like, yeah, like there is a, and I mean, this is not just it, but there is a problem specific. I mean, I understand now why so many black guys, that once they get the resources and the money, right, why they don't date, why a lot of them just won't date black women. I totally fucking get it, right? And that's something that I've seen.
Is that why you? Did you pick up on that when I went to Europe and got myself a little Austrian princess?
Yeah,
you picked up on that, huh?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's like, I mean, like, like I said, man, I mean, I've dealt with black women from Africa, and I've dealt with African American women in the U.S., and it's like there's not, yeah, the women from Africa specifically are way better. Like, it's not even close.
So you want to? So, from my opinion, on that topic, I know we're probably off topic here, but on that just little, since you brought it up, so it's my theory that because in order to have a dead race, which is what the Caucasians of America wanted out of their slaves, they needed a dead race. How do you get a dead race? Well, you separate them from their religion, their language, their culture, their history. You take all that away from them. Even families were split up to make sure none of this stuff would pass down. But people, it's hilarious to me how a lot of people will try to trace their lineage to someone of royal blood in Europe. All these white people just love trying to do that. I think it's hilarious. However, my lineage can be proven. Our lineage can be proven in America because there was a civil war across the continent in Africa at that time. The slave trade started to boom. So you're talking prisoners of war who were royalty, who were of engineers, who were scientists, someone politically, doctors, people who were politically important. These were your prisoners of war. All these people were handed over because they were prisoners of war, handed over to the white people as slaves. So you have a great lineage of royal black blood who were slaves. Now we are learning our history. We are learning. More and more generations come by. We're learning our history, and so we have a few royal bloods out there. I'm not gonna lie. I know I can trace my lineage back to some princes in Africa. So that makes me a freaking prince, right? Or something of that nature. Real good.
Well, I mean,
So
there's like
hold on. No. Before you do that. So you have these women who they all think they're Queen Nefertiti. Okay? They're just such queens. They are looking for the best. They only deserve the best, and they don't understand how toxic that they are with this attitude that they now have. This was supposed to be suppressed. Now it has been weaponized. Instead of it being suppressed, it's been weaponized by social media and for the simple fact of the brainwashing of the materialism, as I mentioned earlier. They're totally they're totally divided up. Good woman from a bad woman. It's not even limited to race, but this materialism has destroyed women in America. Period. And for the most part, for those who've escaped it and can actually enjoy life without looking at somebody's pocket, that's a beautiful thing. But it has grown so toxic within the African American culture. Yes, black men are seeking women of different races. My family specifically is half Hispanic because the males in my family go for Mexican women. All my nephews, each and every one of them, have a Hispanic girlfriend. All of them. There's not even an exception to the rule. All of them.
Well, I mean, we could get into the foreign wives. I mean, that's becoming a very big thing, and it's like I was saying, we were talking about the comparison between African American women and women from Africa, and about how it's not even a close comparison. Like the women from Africa are like front and center better than African American women. Like it's not even fucking close. And
not even close.
And it's like same thing with other groups looking over for foreign brides. The reason why, and this is something that women don't, that a lot of feminists, a lot of women don't seem to get, is that the reason why a lot of guys are looking for foreign brides is because, in general, the women specifically in the United States, are so toxic and refuse to accept accountability and responsibility and whatnot, and just a number of reasons. But generally speaking, they're so bad, that it's like you just want to get the hell away from it, right? It's like it's like you sleep with somebody, for instance, and it's like you sleep with somebody, and it's like look at for instance, we're really going off the rails. Take someone like, say, Lawrence Southern, for instance. Has zero qualms about sleeping with a degenerate like Destiny. And then literally a few months later has zero qualms about, not only did she sleep with Andrew Tate, which I kind of understand, because a lot of women, I mean, Andrew Tate's a good looking guy, right? Like, you might not like me saying that about him, but Andrew Tate he's well built. He's a good looking guy. He's charismatic. Otherwise, he wouldn't be as successful as he actually is, right? She slept with Andrew Tate. It was consensual. There was actual witness, Tommy Robinson, stepping out of the room because he was with them that day and saw Lauren Southern canoodling with Andrew Tate outside the hotel room after the fact, which basically means that it was likely consensual. And then a couple years later, tries to make the claim that Andrew Tate raped her, but doesn't do that with Destiny, who is an absolute and clear fucking, pardon the language, he's a fucking degenerate, right? And it's like, and it's like, yeah, and it's like no, and it's like, again, Isabella DeLuca, same thing. She was the one that posted up. She was involved in Kate Gate, and she actually was such a slimy human being that she actually dragged Rollo Tomasi's daughter into Kate Gate. I mean, she quite happily and willingly jumped in on this Andrew Wilson stuff. And then of course, we've covered Tommy Lahren a couple times. Ashley St. Clair, who literally tried to Musk baby, which basically would have guaranteed, which would have set her up for life. And she tries to extort him for more money. And oh, by the way, also spends time attacking. It's like I could go on and on and on and on and on, right? And it's like, yeah, no goddamn wonder that men are looking elsewhere to meet women. It's absolutely no surprise at all, right? Like it's not a surprise in any form or fashion as to what's going on. And anyway, yeah, we've kind of gone off on a bit of a tangent here, so I need to get this back on track because we've still got a couple more topics to cover here.
One last tangent, very quickly. Kelso can go straight to hell with his "We was kings" living meme crap. All right. Anyways, go ahead.
Oh, okay. I'm not gonna get into that with you. Okay. So anyway, oh, for God's sakes, Jesus. I'm gonna have to take this computer into B service because now I got the white screen not responding. Oh, wait, there we go. All right. Oh, now it's still not responding. Okay. Well, let me just
still hear you.
This. Oh yeah. Oh wait, nope. There we go. Okay. So yeah, this has been a bit of a pet peeve specifically for Jeremy Hambling over at the Quartering about all of these foreign accounts on Twitter that are political in nature, and this has been a bit of a picky issue. Well, Twitter, I don't know whether it was a plugin or whether Twitter did this themselves, but Twitter actually decided to reveal the geographic location. And then, by the way, this wasn't just right-wingers that were doing this. This was also left-wingers. But there was one specific individual who I remember very specifically because this guy was not only was this guy fucking stupid, right? But I mean, like when you responded to him and you challenged him on his opinions, like he was snarky and obnoxious and just outright stupid. But he goes by the name of Alex Cole. Now, Alex Cole, and he was brought up as an example. By the way, there's also examples on the right. I'll be bringing his photo up in a second here. Alex Cole was so arrogant and so full of himself. He's a software engineer that lives in Vancouver. He doesn't live in the U.S., but he piped up about U.S. politics all the same. Alex Cole was so high on the smell. That's his photo right there. Alex Cole was so high off the smell of his own bullshit that he literally posts up at his Twitter account that he voted in the last election. When the actual truth of the matter is that he doesn't actually even live in the U.S. He lives in Canada. I mean, yeah, you will see me comment about U.S. politics, but I will also comment about like Canadian politics as well. Alex Cole is a software engineer by the name of Nicholas Harrius. He's a software engineer who lives in Vancouver, Canada. And yeah, I'm not kidding you. He actually tried to pass himself off as a guy who voted in. And when you challenge him on his statements, and by the way, like we're talking about the same unhinged leftist bullshit that you will usually see on threads.
Well,
and,
for clarification, yes, he's in another country, but is he a U.S. citizen?
No, he was born in the Bahamas. He never lived in the U.S. He was never a U.S. citizen.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, and by the way, we've also got, and you've seen me post them up earlier. We've also got a lot of other accounts, both on the right, of course, and the left, involving themselves in U.S. politics, Ian Miles Chong is probably the most obvious name that comes up. Now, I've never really gotten into Ian Miles Chong, but Ian Miles Chong lives in Malaysia. He has never been to the United States, like, ever. But if you go to his feed on Twitter, you would think he actually lives here. You know, this has been exposed. It's on the right and on the left. And, you know, again, this is on top of, and I do believe we actually covered this. Like, I don't know whether you were on that show or not. We did cover the fact that there is a disproportionately large number of quote unquote Indian bots on Twitter and elsewhere on the net. And it's like you start thinking that there's a dead internet theory, and you're starting to really think that there is, because it's sort of like, because we were just talking about the Andrew Wilson situation, and I looked at the people who were commenting on the Andrew Wilson situation. There it is, another one, America First, based out of Bangladesh, right? The whole thing is that, you know, the whole thing is that it's like, you know, there's obviously some people outside. They're either being A, paid to do this, or B, because I mean, like, let's not kid ourselves here. Like, if you're making, like, for instance, for me to actually be able to make a living doing this full time, here in, like, I live in Canada, for instance, for me to be able to make a living full time on this, I have to be clearing probably in the neighborhood of $3,000 to $5,000 a month, and I am nowhere near that right now. Now, if you live in Bangladesh or India, and you're only clearing, say, $500 to $1,000 a month, I mean, I'm not saying you're living well, but you're definitely well above the poverty line. You know, I mean, I could, for instance, and I mean, if things keep going the way they're going in Canada, I might actually seriously consider it. Potentially go into some third world country where my overhead isn't nearly as significant, and do what I do right now. Right? I mean, I would have to be insane to not consider doing that, right? You know, because it's like trying to make a living by podcasting. I mean, it's like it is a grind, right? Like, you have to be constantly posting up stuff. And if you're not posting up if you're posting up, say, type of content I do, for instance, you have people who will go out of your way to try to get your account shut down. They will, I mean, like I say, I've had to deal with death threats, and so have you, V. You know, both you and I have had to deal with death threats. I have had to deal with stalkers, but I mean, I haven't had to deal with stalkers, but I've had to deal with people. I've had to deal with, at least, with the exception of, and this is ironic, the only one of my streaming accounts that has not been hit, ironically, is BitChute. Right? Every single other streaming account that I've got somebody has tried taking a run at it at some point in time or another to try and get me shut down. Like Facebook, I posted up 157 here about 2 weeks ago. Somebody reported me on Facebook, and I couldn't post up anything on Facebook, like not even to the groups that I run on Facebook, for 3 or 4 days before the ban got lifted, right?
Well, that won't happen to you until we talk.
Yeah, I know that won't happen, and it's like, so it's like, I'm when you're trying to do this honestly, right? And I again, right, for instance, as we're speaking right now, there is a person on Kick right now offering to promote my channel to get more views, and probably those views are probably fake and bought for and paid for, right? Like, those are their fake views. right? I've had somebody like literally on every single streaming platform has tried to approach me to try to get me to send them money so that they can help promote my platform to get more views. And when I take a look at their stuff, it usually turns out what they're doing is that you're just basically sending them money and they're just buying followers, right? There's a lot of bread tubers that will do that as well. And there's just something really, and again, right, this is something that's been really good because again, like I got like I said, I got 100 followers, subs on YouTube this week, right? I got those followers organically, as in I didn't. In fact, I literally did. I've done absolutely nothing to promote my YouTube channel. Like I just don't do it, right? And it's a little bit galling and irritating when like these fake patriots and whatever go in and post this stuff up and get tens of thousands. Here's another one, Ron Smith from Kenya, right? And they get tens of thousands of followers, like almost immediately. Whereas I'm trying to do things on the straight and narrow, and I can, not only is it like a grind to get ahead, but it's also right. You've got individuals, and I have literally had this happen. I mean, there's one guy who has got such a hate going on for me that he like literally got my second YouTube account shut down and had 9 followers. Right? There's definitely some validity to the concept of the dead internet. And yeah, I'm glad that these people are being exposed. Yes, the mainstream media is trying to play this off as just a right-wing thing, but as I clearly have shown you, this is not just the right that's doing this. This is the left as well. Again, right? Like you're starting to see individuals, like they're basically just at the point now where with the far left, with the woke left, it's like they're just like throwing shit at the wall and hoping something sticks. And once in a while they get a little bit of residue, but it never really lasts. But but if you're thinking that this is not just something this is something that's only confined to the left, yeah, I got a bridge to sell you. And with it, I'm going to turn it over to V.
Yeah, it's kind of strange seeing something like that, especially when you're an American and you're not proud of being an American because of all the stuff that's going on. All the corruption that you're able to see. Yeah, well, you don't have to go to a third world country. I did quite well in Poland. Here I'm a broke joke, but over in Poland, I'm middle class easily. The dollar is 4 to 1, so you can live nice, lavish first world amenities with only a fourth of the price.
Yeah, like I could be making like $600 or $700 a month in Poland and
there's
be
your
doing
rent.
quite well. Yeah, and there's my rent.
That's rent.
There's
That's
potentially
bills and a little bit of groceries.
Yeah. And it's like, and if I'm making if I'm making $2 or $3 grand a month, and I'm living in those countries, it's like I'm really doing well, and I'm having. Well, like I said,
you're buying a house next month.
And it's like, for instance, right? What? I don't think you were on. Were you on that show? When what's her? Oh no, that wasn't.
I think so.
That wasn't on this show. I was on Jaffe's show, and Jaffe's co-host is selling a trailer.
He got somebody that can tolerate him.
She lives in Phoenix. Yeah, well, Jaffe's not perfect, but it's like, yeah. But yeah, and she's selling a trailer right now. And I was like, Well, it's like, well, what? How much is it? Okay, let's only say a couple $100 a month rent. Well, you know what? Like maybe you could start making some inquiries, and if somebody has a trailer home somewhere down in the U.S., right? If I could send them, say, 150, $200 a month, and they just basically park the unit there for the winter, and I just go down with some basic materials, and I just basically I do the show from the US in the wintertime and then come back up to Canada in the summer. I mean, I wouldn't be adverse to, I wouldn't be against that at all.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And
Right.
I wouldn't be violating any ICE rules because I would be making my own money to boot, right? And
Right.
that's an option that I'm seriously having to look at.
Well, that's why I bought my RV. I can go anywhere theoretically, even though Trump makes it hard to travel. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. So when I started doing the radio thing, uh, yeah, it's a grind, man. I got a few thousand subscribers on my YouTube. But once everybody's YouTube account started getting shut down, I stopped grinding. I was like, you know what? I'm probably going to put so much work into this, and when I get a few thousand more subscribers, they're just going to shut me down, and then what's the point? So I
Yeah,
started
I mean
leaning
that's
more.
the reason why
I started
I
leaning.
don't do anything.
Huh?
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say that's why I started working on my own social network so that I could have a place where I won't be censored. And I stopped doing the grind because essentially, you join my network, you're my friend. And I can have hundreds of thousands, I can have millions if I want to, and uncensored. When the time comes, when I do have that many people in my network, I'm going to start dropping my bombs. There's not going to be anything anybody in the government can do about it. YouTube won't be able to do anything about it. Any other platform, they're just going to have to sit there and take it. And they're going to have to loosen their grip too, because once people realize, oh crap, there was no censorship, everybody got the message, maybe I can get my message out there too. And boom, 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 boom. Hopefully, that's the way I want to start the social networking revolution without censorship.
Well, I
And
mean,
at some point, I will decentralize at some point.
Well, I mean, here's the thing for me, and this is something that's been brought even if as far back as 2020. And by the way, we're totally off topic here, but again, it's like right, like you have these grifters doing this and making like money hand over fist, and we're like struggling here. And it's like like there was one guy, and he actually suggested it wouldn't take that much computing power to do it, like a server that too difficult of a server to do it. Is that you could set up and this is what Dragus is doing. I mean, you could set up a podcasting channel that basically produces. I mean, you would have to set up the shows, obviously, right? But I mean, you could have a platform running 24/7. There's enough basically there's just in the manosphere itself. There's enough manosphere content in the pipeline that you could have a show going that's just running nothing but manosphere content 24/7, right? And you could keep it running for months just on the discarded content, right? That doesn't include the current stuff, right? I mean, one of the things that's causing me to grow, particularly on YouTube, is the fact that I have found like YouTube engaged in its little purge here a few months ago, a couple of years ago, and they took a whole bunch of MGTOW content creators, myself included, off the air. Thing was is that there's this little thing called the Internet Archive, and a lot of these channels had saved their content to those channels, to the archive. So what I'm basically doing is I'm taking this stuff off the archive and I'm reposting it up at my YouTube channel as archived content. And that's probably the reason why my channel is growing over there, is because it's like, for instance, I have all of Spetsnaz's stuff out right now. And I'm also currently, my current project is I'm taking all of Sunrise's hoodies content, which is got removed from YouTube, and I'm posting that up. And a lot of Sydney MGTOW's old stuff is out there. There's a lot of old Manosphere content, and it's like not just that. So it's like, yeah, and it's like, but I mean, it's time consuming, right? And don't get me wrong, I enjoy it a lot, but it is time consuming. And I mean, yeah, I'm at the point now, for instance, and you might want to be sitting down for this one. I'm almost making $1 a month on Rumble.
Oh, no.
Yeah, a whole $1 a month on Rumble. But I'm actually also starting to see some return from BitChute as well. I haven't monetized Odyssey or you can't monetize Brighteon, and I have seen a little bit of money coming in from MGTOW, but I mean, I'm not getting rich off of it, but I am. But I mean, it's like, yeah, the amount of effort that I have to put in to get that revenue is just like right through the roof, right?
Well,
And
I should set up my
something
account
you're
stuff
into
for it. Because, I mean, when I had copied all my stuff from YouTube over to Rumble and BitChute, I mean, I got 300, 400 views first day. I hadn't been back to check since I've done that, but holy crap, I could be sitting on some money.
Yeah, well, you do. Yeah, BitChute has now been monetized. You're not making a lot of money on BitChute, but BitChute's been monetized. And by the way, I did some research into BitChute. I have 300,000 plus views on BitChute, like a lot. Anyway. But yeah, getting back to these people, it's sort of like, yeah, so these idiots are doing this, and they're like, and I hate to say this about them those damn foreigners are taking money away from us good, honest, hard work in America, but that's exactly what's fucking going on, right? And it's like they don't even live, like, I mean, Alex Cole, if he hadn't had his head shoved so far up his ass and said that he had voted in the last election, I mean, you got people, at least Alex Cole is in Canada, right? But I mean, right, like Kenya, Bangladesh, India, Malaysia, like people who have don't even live in North America, but they've never even been here, right? And they're making money hand over fist, and I'm just barely scraping by, making barely a fucking $1 a month on, say, Rumble. And it's like, I mean, yeah, eventually that's going to change, and I will eventually get to the point where I'm actually able to make a living. But I mean, I'm not going to lie, right? Like, I'm at the point where if I can move to a country in Central America and be making the same amount of money that I'm currently making at my job here in Canada, like, I would have to be insane not to have to consider it. That's just where I'm at, right? And yeah, it's a little bit galling to see these foreign content creators do this stuff. So anyway, yeah, unless you got anything more to say, we'll move on to the next topic here.
Yeah, we can move on. I gotta go pretty soon.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, okay. So we've only got one more topic left. Hold on a second here. All right. I'm just going to play a couple of videos here. This is about the Seditious 6. I'll just play it is and isn't sedition, but yeah, the combined length of these videos is about 4 minutes, but we'll do the first one and try not to have your jaw drop when you listen to this first one. Okay.
I'm Senator Alyssa Slotkin.
Senator Mark Kelly. Representative Chris Deluzio.
Congresswoman Maggie Goodlander.
Representative Chrissy Houlihan.
Congressman Jason Crow. I was a captain in the United States Navy.
Former CIA officer.
Former Navy. Former paratrooper and Army Ranger.
Former intelligence officer.
Former Air Force.
We want to speak directly to members of the military
and the intelligence community
who take risks each day to keep Americans safe.
We know you are under enormous stress and pressure right now.
Americans trust their military.
But that trust is at risk. This administration is pitting our uniformed military
And intelligence community professionals
against American citizens. Like us, you all swore an oath
to protect and defend this Constitution.
Right now, the threats to our Constitution aren't just coming from abroad,
but from right here at home. Our laws are clear. You can refuse illegal orders.
You can refuse illegal orders.
You must refuse illegal orders.
No one has to carry out orders that violate the law
or our Constitution.
We know this is hard and that it's a difficult time to be a public servant.
But whether you're serving in the CIA,
the Army,
or Navy,
the Air Force,
your vigilance is critical.
And know that we have your back.
Because now, more than ever,
the American people need you.
We need you to stand up for our laws,
our Constitution,
and who we are as Americans. Don't give up.
Don't give up.
Don't give up.
Don't give up the ship.
Okay, now we got the reaction. Keep in mind this is Fox News, so take it with a grain of salt.
Mr. Miller, what should happen to the seditious six?
Well, they should be held accountable under the law and under the Uniform Code of Military Justice for a seditious conspiracy against the United States of America. This is completely open and shut, straightforward. What is the motivation? Why would 6 members of Congress, selecting specifically for individuals with a CIA or military background, record a carefully written, carefully produced, slickly edited video messaging directly to members of our clandestine services and our armed forces, telling them to disobey orders from their superiors, telling them that they should individually determine whether an order is legal or illegal and defy it. Individuals who are exercising life and death power. The CIA engages in covert missions all over the world involving life and death decisions. The armed forces launches life-taking missions time and time again. They carry weapons. They control drones. They control missiles. They work on nuclear submarines. For what purpose would you ever deliver this message? As you said, it's to create a color revolution. It is the CIA playbook for trying to foment insurrection from within the military and within the CIA. Look, we saw after Charlie Kirk was assassinated, Jesse, members of the armed forces openly celebrating his murder. So think about that for a second. You have people in the armed forces, and it can be a tiny, tiny percentage, but who celebrated the assassination of Charlie Kirk, and then now they're getting a message from Kelly and from other members of Congress saying, defy your commanders. Rise up and defy your superiors. That kind of language will get people killed. It endangers our national security. It is dangerously radicalizing, and it has all of the evidence of willfulness and intent. And when they go on TV and they say, well, we can't name what order is illegal, that proves the point. It was never about the law. It was breaking down the chain of command. The Democrat Party is openly engaged every day in trying to tear down democracy, whether it be judges who are binding the president with unlawful orders, releasing violent criminals back onto the street, trying to cement and protect the illegal alien invasion of America, and now fomenting rebellion inside of the ranks of our armed forces and CIA.
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack there. I will start out with the most obvious thing, and the angle that they're trying to take here is that just following orders was not something that worked particularly well for the Nazis at Nuremberg. So what they're saying does actually have a basis in reality. It does. And I don't want to be too much of a dick about this, but what they're saying is but I mean, again, though, right, when these individuals were put onto it and said, what order did the current administration do that violated the Geneva Convention? They can't name it, right? And they won't name it. And so are they committing sedition? Yes. No. the whole issue with ICE, and this is something that just keeps continuously being ignored, is that ICE is mandated to apprehend illegal aliens. The National Guard, because we will be covering the Afghan migrant that killed those two National Guardsmen outside the White House here, like in a couple of days. The whole thing is that, I mean, if you're going to say, like, yeah, you're following illegal orders, you're morally obligated. And by the way, yeah, the U.S. Armed Forces are basically, I mean, at least the officers are told about the moral obligation of not following illegal orders, of following illegal orders, and orders that are not consistent with the Constitution, right? And yeah, just following orders is not something that worked particularly well with the individuals who were on trial at Nuremberg, for instance, right? So there is some validity to what they're saying. But if you're going to say something like that, you have to tell them what it is, because it's not ICE, because ICE is apprehending illegals. The National Guard that's been called out, well, look at what's happening at the ICE facility in Chicago, in particular in Chicago, where they were actively, like, not only going out and, like, trying to attack the ICE facility in Chicago, but they were actually following ICE officers out while they were making arrests. And at points attempting to, because I saw the videos, trying to get the people who were being arrested by ICE, they were like blocking traffic. Specifically, this was happening in Chicago, blocking traffic in Chicago and attempting to extricate the people who had been apprehended by ICE out of the vehicles. So this is not, and when Brandon Johnson was so out of it that he specifically asked the UN to do it. And the same sort of thing was happening in Portland. And again, right, when it came to Portland specifically, I mean, you were like looking at the apparatus that happened in Portland, and like the amount of structural support that those protesters outside of Portland were getting, right? And it's very, very clear that it wasn't just the Tides Foundation, it wasn't just George Soros, that there were actually people in the U.S. that were sending the money above and beyond just the quote unquote fake charities that were doing it. Like that was an organized thing. And of course I could go on. The Hyundai plant in Atlanta, in Georgia, that managed to somehow ship something like 60% of, hold on a second, of its staff, of its employees, illegally from South Korea to Georgia to work in that plant. Like that was not a word of a lie. And then of course we also had a situation here a few years ago, where these guys were these two alt media types were taking a flight on United Airlines, and like literally almost every person that was getting on that flight was an illegal alien, and United was paying for the flights, right? Like this is not just ICE being a bunch of thugs. This is not the National Guard being a bunch of thugs, right? Like this is a response to what is quite clearly, and I hate to say this, but it's a coordinated campaign against the U.S. And again, like that, what that guy was saying is that like this is a deliberate attempt to undermine the authority of the American president. If you're going to say you need to disobey orders, if you're going to do something like that, you have to give very specific reasons as to why. You can't just, and we covered this with Andrew Wilson, you can't just say it and just hope that something sticks, right? It's like if the current administration has issued an illegal order, you have to specify what that illegal order is. You can't just throw out a blanket statement and hope that nobody fact checks. This is a typical leftist move, right? Absolutely a typical leftist move. So, yeah, when Donald Trump was talking about sedition, yeah, technically it is sedition. Is it prosecutable? Can they actually prove sedition? No, but the fact of the matter is that they still got members of the legislative branch to openly call on members of the armed forces to disobey illegal orders, but didn't give specific examples of what those illegal orders are. That is also not a lie. And the fact of the matter is true, though, is that while we're talking about that, the bottom line is that, you know what, just following orders was not an excuse that was used at Nuremberg, right? So, like, no matter which way this breaks down, this is an intentional fomenting of dissent. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to V, and we're just going to wrap this up because I got one more thing to show one more video to show before we end the show. But yeah, V, take this topic out, and I got one more video to show, and then we're done.
Yeah, sedition. Like, if that were a charge that was taken seriously, oh my goodness, how many corrupt politicians could we arrest? Would there be any government left?
I don't know, man.
That's my question, really. Would there be enough people to actually run a government if you got out all the rotten corruption? Who knows? Well, yeah. Following, there's so many times I told my superiors to F off. And those were legal orders. Well, actually, no. When it came to my health, when I was in the service, they tried to keep me from seeing a doctor. Like, I'm clearly injured. I need to go see a doctor. No, fall in line. No, screw you. I'm going to the hospital. So when I think of a legal order, I can think of some immoral orders. Because when it comes to my personal health and somebody's ego or their command structure, I'm going to choose my health. So, I mean, that's my experience with that. Illegal orders. My goodness. Yeah, I don't know. You pretty much said it all. It's a shame that we have. If you've got to look at the constitutional law and see if what you're doing is legal, you probably, it's safe to say it's probably not constitutional. It's probably not legal. You got to have team of lawyers try to litigate some sort of legitimacy for an action that you want to take, which is immoral and is just the very fabric of what we believe in. Well, I wouldn't do it. It's probably not a popular career move there. So it's all just nonsense. It's just a shakedown of the American people, especially for those who are not white. Yeah. Anyhow, I want to say, brother, before we end the show, stay warm. I know I'm here in this snowstorm. This is the most snow I've ever seen in my life, by the way. We got like 12 inches in like 2 days. So let's pray for everybody in this weather, and especially pray for me, because I don't know if anything happens. I don't know what my survivability is. I'm not Canadian.
Yeah, well, I mean, we did have a snowstorm here. It wasn't as bad as the one you had, but I mean, it was like, the day of the storm, it was like, I mean, it was having one of those situations where I would drive the car and hit the brakes, and I would keep sliding. and I would have to back off, and I'd have to pump the brakes a couple times to get the car to stop properly. And I was having to make sure that I had enough distance between myself and the vehicle ahead of me so that I could stop my vehicle. I mean, there's some assholes that consistently were honking their horns because I wasn't driving fast enough. And it's like, sorry, excuse me? Like, you know what? Like, you want to drive in this weather and end up in an accident? Like, be my guest. In fact, that particular day, the period before the shift and after the shift, I saw like 4 or 5 vehicles blocking traffic or getting stuck in traffic, and it was like the cops were busy dealing. Like, I mean, when I remember this, because when I was having to have a job, for instance, with LPO, and I caught somebody shoplifting, and I had to call the cops on a day when there was like really bad weather out in the wintertime, right? Like the time of response was like a couple of hours because the cops were dealing with a lot of traffic issues. And that day in question, where there was a lot of traffic issues, we don't have a storm right now, but it is a solid -9 out right now, which, if you want to do it from American terms, hold on, let me just go convert that. I don't remember the exact what that comes out to in US totals here. -9, yeah, 15. It's 15 right now outside here where I live right now. Just an FYI on that. Anyway,
isn't there some formula for that, like double your temperature at 32?
Yeah, I can't remember specifically what it is. But anyway, that is it for the show tonight. Yeah, one of the other things I think I'm gonna have to strive to do, I'm gonna have to try to start making the show, try to keep the show under like between 2 and 2.5, and we're just at the 2.5 hour mark right now. I have, of course, a little video which will take us out, which of course V can't see because he can't see it. But I mean, it's like, yeah, perfect manosphere content to take the show. And yeah, just an FYI, I have someplace that I got to be in like a little less than an hour, but I might come back and I might just do another show specifically.
Okay, let me know.
On something. Oh yeah, I'll have to. What I'll do is I'll send you the WordPress article that I wrote on it last night. But here we go. Your moment is in for today. 2.5 minutes. Very interesting. Have a look.
New data just shattered one of the most pervasive feminist myths. Men are more open-minded than the women who claim to teach tolerance. In fact, men are more tolerant of their political enemies than women are of their political allies. The Fire 2026 College Free Speech rankings reveal that across nearly every ideology, men scored higher in tolerance for both left and right-wing speakers. Women, by contrast, clustered near the bottom left of the chart, less tolerant overall, and particularly hostile towards right-leaning speech. The data exposes a paradox at the core of our cultural moment. The very people who preach inclusivity are the least willing to tolerate difference. Sociologically, this may be the natural outcome of what Helen Andrews calls the Great Feminization, the demographic and psychological transformation of our institutions as women and feminized men come to dominate them. As workplaces, universities, and media organizations have become majority female, the values once confined to family life, care, protection, and harmony, have become the guiding ethos of public life. What was once the nurturing instinct of the home has become the governing principle of the state. Institutions now operate like moral daycares, treating citizens not as autonomous adults, but as infants in need of emotional safety. Speech that causes discomfort is redefined as harm, disagreement becomes violence, and those who challenge the narrative are cast as predators. Evolutionary psychology helps explain why. For most of human history, women's survival depended on protecting the vulnerable and maintaining social cohesion. That instinct still shapes moral reasoning today. Psychologists call it moral triage, the subconscious sorting of society into infants, or the oppressed, caregivers, the moral class, and predators, the dissenters. Once this lens takes hold, persuasion is replaced by protection and argument by ostracism. The irony, of course, is staggering. Men, long caricatured as aggressive, intolerant, and oppressive, are by the numbers more tolerant of opposing views than women. The tolerance movement, born of empathy, has become a kind of sentimental authoritarianism, a regime of enforced care that smothers the very freedoms it claims to defend. The FIRE data confirms what Andrews describes on a civilizational scale. When feminine norms rule, truth gives way to emotional safety, debate gives way to consensus, intolerance becomes a tool of control. The tragedy is not that women entered public life, it's that public life adopted the psychology of the nursery.
And that is it for tonight. Thank you very much for listening. Keep in mind, again, the banner below, Patreon, like, subscribe, and by the way, yeah, if you can, so even if it's just $1 a month, if you can afford to help me out there, I would really appreciate it. But everybody, you know what? Have a good night, and we will see you on the next one, which might even be later on tonight. We'll talk to you later.